Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article analyzes the concept of right to be forgotten. Delhi High Court has recently recognized this concept of right to be forgotten. It has directed Google and IndianQanun.com to remove a judgment pertaining to an American citizen of Indian origin. Before we understand what is this concept all about, let's have a brief idea with respect to this case so that we understand what this concept is all about. American citizen of Indian origin had traveled to India in the year 2009. When he visited India, he was booked under charges of law, that is Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1985. This goes to the court of law. Initially, it heads to the trial court. The trial court looks into this particular case, finds no evidences, and ultimately absolves him of all the charges and acquits him. Immediately, it goes to the High Court as well. After it goes to the High Court also looks into the evidences. It finds no substance in it, and ultimately, it says that this particular person is absolved of all the charges and is not guilty of any charges. As a result, this person of Indian origin goes back to United States of America. He happens to be a law graduate. He finishes his law graduation. After this, he wants to go and work for the law firms as well. So whenever a company is hiring one of the person, what they do is a background check. So what they do is check of this particular person on Google. The minute his name was given on Google search list, what it prompted to was cases that he was involved under the drug laws. As a result, companies which wanted to recruit him are not recruiting because he was booked under charges of drug laws in India. As a result, the petitioner feels he is losing on the job opportunities. He comes down to India, files a case in the Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court, as a temporary order, has issued directions to Google, has issued directions to IndianQanun.com to remove his name, to remove his case laws so that this particular person does not suffer anything professionally. So this article here is speaking about the concept of right to be forgotten. So the question is, what is this right to be forgotten? We all live in a digital era. With the advent of the internet, what we have is increasing quantities of information consumption. When you look into the traditional setup, what you had was the newspapers as well as the visual media. It was only through these mediums one person's accomplishments, one person's tragedies could be known to people. But now what we have is the expanse of the social media. In fact, a person may voluntarily upload a video or a picture, and it might also happen involuntarily as well, where he might be tagged by his friends or by any other organizations and groups. So with the digital era expansion and penetration, a person's privacy may also be lost as well. In order to make sure that the person's privacy is not lost, what we have is a particular concept called as right to be forgotten. This right to be forgotten is also called as the right to erasure. What exactly happens? Whenever there is a petitioner or an individual who feels that the information given by a particular website, given by a particular organization is inaccurate, or he feels it is inadequate, it is irrelevant or excessive in nature. In such a situation, the individuals will have every right to request that organization or the search engine to remove the links that is associated with the personal information of that particular person. So what happens in right to be forgotten? In right to be forgotten, the organizations may have to delete the personal data of that particular individual if it is requested by that particular person. It can be the search engine, it can be a particular website, it can be an organization who's linking this person's individual's characteristic. So all that this concept of right to be forgotten says is that a person's privacy is very important. If he does not want that information out in the public forum, he can request that organization, news outlet, social media outlet, or the newspapers and search engines to delete that information from appearing. That is what is called as right to be forgotten. So a right to be forgotten is where he make a request to the data controller and ultimately this particular information is deleted. But do remember, this particular information deletion or right to be forgotten is not absolute. It is qualified in nature. This has to meet the laws of the country. This has to meet the reasonable restrictions as imposed by the laws of that particular country. Now the question is, do we have the right to be forgotten as a concept elsewhere in the world? Yes, we do have. One of the examples is the European Union General Data Protection Regulation. This is one of the laws as regulated under European Union. They have one of the important article, that is Article 17 under General Data Protection Regulation. What exactly happens? Under this, a European Union law, Article 17 in their law clearly goes on to say that the person has every right to ask the data controller to remove the information. There are two viewpoints to this particular viewpoint. One is that the particular person feels that this information is no more required, so he has given consent to that particular data controller. Now he feels that he is withdrawing the consent, so the data controller has to remove it. So what happens here? Consent is the major issue. So whenever consent is given and it is withdrawn, the data controller who has the information of that individual will have to be removed. Next, let's say there is one of the objective that needs to be met with this particular information, and the objective is met, and this particular objective is met after a considerable period of time. When the person requests that this objective is met, his data is no more required, he can ask the data controller to remove that particular information. So Article 17 of General Data Protection Regulation in European Union clearly mandates the right to be forgotten as this person wants with his particular consent. Now you might ask me a question. This is present in the European Union. This is present in multiple countries' laws as well in European Union. But do we have anything in India? No. As of now, this right to be forgotten is not present in the form of laws. Do remember, it is currently not present in any of the law in India, but we have one of the bills called as the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019, which did speak about this law. So as of now, this particular concept is not present in the law. It is just present in the bill, and it was also supported by the Sri Krishna Committee report, which spoke about data protection and laws. But what do we have? We have different judicial pronouncements. The judiciary has given judgments and they are conflicting in nature as well. There are different high courts in India, like the High Court of Gujarat, the High Court of Karnataka. Both have given conflicting opinions when it comes to the right to be forgotten. Now the question is, what are the various issues when it comes to the application of right to be forgotten? Is it 100%? No. This, as I initially told you, it is not absolute, but it is qualified in nature. Now let's understand what are the challenges when it comes to its actual application. When you say that this particular person goes to an organization or to a search engine, requests that organization to remove that particular information, it might not be showing on the front. It might not be showing on the search engine, but this information is still present in their servers. It can be passed on from one person to another internally as well. That happens to be the major challenge when it comes to the actual execution. Why? Because whenever a particular data is served in the server, there is backup to this particular information, and this information can be sold to another private agency. It still means that right to privacy is getting violated. The second major challenge is that yes, this right to be forgotten is part of the right to privacy, but we also have the right to information as well. So there is a considerable conflict between the right to privacy and right to information. Why is it important for us to understand this conflict? There are two types of people. One is a private individual, the other is a public individual. When it comes to the private individual, I am a private individual, I do not have a public life. You are a private individual, you do not have a public life. Or let's say there is a person who is working with the government of India. He is a public individual. So when right to be forgotten is given, is it only for the private individuals or even for the public individuals? This is the first question. If it is about the public individuals, there comes the right to information. Why? Right to information is also an ingrained aspect under right to freedom of expression. You would be able to extract the information as well. But when this public personal's information is asked, can that public personnel person can also ask the court of law for the right to be forgotten? The answer is a plain no. Why? Because he is not acting as a private individual, but he is representing the state, and if there is any violation of law and order or the norms of the country, in such a case the right to information holds an upper hand and it is not the right to privacy. In a similar instance, we have the Puttaswamy judgment or the right to privacy judgment, where the Supreme Court of India has given clear guidelines. What are these guidelines? Whenever such a practice of right to privacy steps into picture, it cannot be exercised at the cost of right of freedom of expression and information if it is a public personnel, or if it is something to do with law, or if it is something to do with the defense and security of the country. So compliance with legal obligations will become very important, and right to be forgotten, right to privacy will not come into picture under such a situation. Then there is performance of a task that has to be carried out in public interest or public health. In such a situation, one cannot ask for the right to be forgotten, or when one has to accomplish public interest, or it is required for the scientific or historical research purpose or statistical purposes. In such a situation, the right to privacy will not take the precedent. What matters is the right to security, right to defense, right to public interest, and what matters is the country and not the right to privacy. In such a situation, the right to privacy, the right to be forgotten will not hold good. So, what do we understand from here? We understand that this particular concept is not absolute, but it is qualified in nature. So, this particular Supreme Court judgment has clearly reiterated that right to privacy may be and will have to be balanced when it comes to the right to information as well as public interest. Now, what impact will it have on the court judgments? When you look into the court judgments, they are usually made so that they support the transparency, so that the people who read this particular judgment have enough knowledge about it, so that the students of law understand different types of laws, and the practitioners of law also know what is this case law all about, so that they understand and apply in the near future. But the basic idea of the court judgment is to support and enhance transparency. Now, if this particular judgment, which is given as an interim order as of now, it is not a complete judgment, but it is just a temporary interim protection given to the petitioner. If this in the near future supports that a particular judgment has to be completely deleted, will it not violate the transparency? Will it not violate the knowledge? Will it not violate the law students' access to that particular judgment or to the practitioners list to this particular judgment? So this article goes on to say that instead of barring this particular judgment or taking off the judgment completely, which has happened in the past, what should be ideally done is there has to be a check against using of his name if he is completely absolved. So his name should not be coming up, but the judgment has to be present on the website and on the organization's list, says the author. Apart from this, as the way forward, this right to be forgotten is very important, as it is very intricate to a person's privacy. If that particular person is absolved of all the crime, he is not booked under a particular charge, the court has found him not guilty of any of these crimes or illegal activities. In such a case, what we require is a balance between privacy, that is the right to be forgotten, along with the right to security and public interest as well. In order to overcome all these issues, what we require is a data protection legislation. So as of now, we do not have a clear legal basis. There are conflicting opinions given by Gujarat High Court and Karnataka High Court. So this underlines that we require a data protection legislation which is in absence right now. Because of the divergent views, because there is no clear legal direction as of now, it is imperative that we come up with a comprehensive data protection law to address all these issues that are persisting with respect to this particular concept. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says energy inefficiency can short circuit cooling India. The article here is speaking about negative impact of climate change. One of the aspects of climate change happens to be increase of the temperature. As there is increase of the temperature, this further leads to warming of the earth. As there is warming of the earth, in order to keep ourselves cool as to the human temperature, what we require is the air conditioners. So these air conditioners are currently being employed both at the houses as well as at the working locations as well. One is to keep ourselves healthy at homes. Two is to increase the productivity at the office setup. So what we have is the employment of the air conditioners both at the personal level and also at the office level. Added to this, there is increasing cases of heat waves as well. This has resulted in deaths in number of countries world over. How do we prevent the deaths? How do we ensure that there is productivity? How do we ensure that we are healthy when we are at homes because of the increasing temperature? What we employ is the air conditioners. So the article here is speaking about negative impact of air conditioners with the technology not upgraded over a period of time. Let us try and understand what are these concerns voiced by the author. The warmer it gets outside, the more we start using the air conditioning. The more we start using the air conditioning, the warmer it gets outside because of the chemicals that we have been releasing into the atmosphere. What are the various issues with respect to the use of the air conditioners? The first major concern happens to be with the electricity. When we know we are using the fans, the amount of intake of electricity would be comparatively less. Now if you are using coolers, it will be much more than that. But if we are using air conditioners, the amount of electricity intake will be comparatively more. So what are we doing here? The more the air conditioners, more will be the intake of electricity. Now when it comes to electricity in India, how is it produced? What we are using is the thermal sources, or what we are currently using is the fossil sources as well. This can be disastrous for the environment. The more the electricity intake, the more is the requirement for the productivity of the electricity. And when it comes to India, most of it is based on the basis of coal. It ultimately means indirectly we are causing more climate change fluctuations when it comes to India. If it is renewable source of energy, it is much good, but India as of now banks on these type of thermal power plants, which means more the electricity intake, more will be the thermal production, and ultimately it will cause harm to the environment. The second major concern with respect to increasing use of air conditioners, it results in urban heat island effect when it comes to the urban areas. This means the temperature in the urban areas in relative to suburban and the rural conditions are comparatively way more than the other areas. This once again means that increasing use of air conditions will result in increasing electricity, and ultimately India is bound to get polluted because of the thermal usage. And finally, whenever we are using these air conditioners, what we make use of is a particular coolant called as the hydrofluorocarbons. Now let's get back to the history books. We have one of the important protocols called as the Montreal Protocol, which came into existence in the year 1987. According to Montreal Protocol, back then, if there were refrigerators that were being used or ACs that were being used, it primarily used what is called as the chlorofluorocarbons or hydrochlorofluorocarbons. These are simply called as CFCs or the HCFCs. When the use of CFCs and HCFCs increased, this also resulted in the ozone layer depletion. That is when, in order to reduce the impact of the ozone layer depletion, they came up with a particular protocol called as the Montreal Protocol. This Montreal Protocol replaced the CFCs. What is the major problem right now? The hydrofluorocarbons may not impact the ozone layer, but yes, it does impact the atmosphere. It does heat up the scenario as well. It does make sure that there is warming that takes place when it comes to the atmosphere. So what is the major problem? As much as we have replaced the CFCs, the HCFCs, what we require is the technology to replace the hydrofluorocarbons as well, because it is still increasing the temperature and it is 1,000 times more stronger than the carbon, and as a result, indirectly what we are heating is the atmosphere. In order to overcome all these negative impacts of using the air conditioners, what we require is a suitable technology. What we require is suitable policy initiatives and the global community coming together similar to that of the Montreal Protocol. So what is the first step that we have to initiate? We require the technological improvements. As of now, what we are making use of the hydrofluorocarbons. This is once again impacting the environment. So suitable technology improvements will have to be made by companies, by organizations, countries coordinating with each other so that we minimize the impact of HFC. So HFC replacement should be strengthened as the way forward when it comes to mitigating the impact of air conditioners. Green urban spaces will have to be increased. As we just discussed, in the urban areas, what we face is the urban heat islands. This can be considerably reduced if there is increasing of the green cover, which means more trees and plants will have to be planted. The lighting of the colors of the road can be taken up. An initiative to build energy efficient buildings can also be put in place. So green urban spaces is the need of the hour and way forward when it comes to mitigating the impact of air conditioners. People will have to bring about behavioral changes when it comes to the use of the air conditioners as well. Whenever air conditioners are not required, where fans can be an ideal substitute, people will have to be given awareness about not to use the air conditioners where it is not required. As air conditioning is powered by electricity, we should be shifting towards other renewable sources. As of now, we are focusing entirely on the thermal sector. We do have the solar energy, we do have the wind energy, we do have the hydroelectricity as well, but in comparison to all of these renewable energy sources, as of now, what we are making use of fossil fuel. So a replacement to the fossil fuel source of energy has to be done with respect to this, and increasing solar, wind and hydropower has to be enhanced as well. We have to come up with some of the innovative campaigns like the Cool Biz campaign. What is this Cool Biz campaign? This was an initiative taken in Japan, where the Japanese government came up with an initiative that those bureaucrats and officers who are working with the government of Japan during the month of summer, they can use what is called as the liberal summer dress code. When you look into the dress code, you usually have a typical blazer, you would have a shirt, you would have a tie, and this means there is a lot of suffocation. So what did the government of Japan do? It came up with a particular campaign where it liberalized some dress code in the bureaucracy of the Japanese government so that the staff could work in the warmer temperature. So what it means is that we have to come up with innovative campaigns when it comes to controlling the air conditioning negative impact. Further, we have to make use of high albedo painting when it comes to the rooftops. When you have the rooftops, currently they'll be absorbing a lot of heat. If high albedo painting is painted on these rooftops, they start reflecting this particular heat, and ultimately it will help in reduction of the roof temperature, and it will also save the cost with respect to the air conditioning. Finally, the government of India and the respective states will have to subsidize and give financial incentives to the people so that people can opt for energy efficient devices. As of now, there are a number of ACs in the market, but all that people opt for is something which is cheaper in nature, not which is energy efficient. So the government of India or the respective state governments will have to ensure that subsidies and financial incentives are given to people so that they go for energy efficient equipment. Finally, the government will also have to design an energy efficient building design, and the government of India in the near future and the respective state governments, whenever licensing is provided to a particular commercial entity or to a private individual, such energy efficient building designs will have to be implemented as well. So going forward, in order to mitigate the impact of climate change, in order to mitigate the impact of air conditioners warming, what it gives us is a golden opportunity to bring up some technology upgradation, lock in energy efficient consumption pattern, and bringing about all these reforms as the way forward to reduce and mitigate the impact of climate change. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Inland Vessels Bill. The Union government has given nod to this Inland Vessels Bill, which will now replace the Inland Vessels Act. What was the aim of introducing this particular bill? The aim of the bill was to streamline vessels that were running on the inland waterways. What are these inland waterways? We have number of rivers, lakes that are present within the territory of India. We are not speaking about the sea water. We are not speaking about the oceanic water. All that we are speaking is in reference to the rivers and lakes. So making use of the rivers and lakes to transport one or the other goods from one place to another is what is called as inland waterways. So what is inland waterways here? It is basically making use of rivers and lakes within the country to transport the goods from one place to another by the rivers, canals, backwaters and creeks. That is what is called as inland waterways. Why was this bill introduced? That is because as of now, when you look into the freight utilization, most of the goods are sent one via the road or it is sent via the rail as well. So what it means is, one, the cost is more, and at the same time it also means it is environmentally not good as well. So in order to mitigate the impact of environmental issues and to reduce the cost, what they are doing is streamlining the vessels so that this can improvise on the business profits as well. So the freight transportation by waterways is currently underutilized. What we are using is road and railways. In order to reduce the burden on the rail and decongest the roads, this particular bill has been introduced by the cabinet. What are the features of this particular bill? A key feature of this particular bill is a unified law for the entire country. What is this unified law for the entire country? As of now, there are different set of rules for the vessels. Let's say there is one particular rule in Maharashtra which may not be applicable in the state of Andhra Pradesh, or one set of law which is present in Uttar Pradesh may not be applicable in the state of West Bengal. Why? Because when it comes to inland waterways, it is not just restricted to one single state. It moves from one state to another. Let's say we take the example of River Ganga. It flows from Uttar Pradesh and it also passes through West Bengal. Since there are multiple states it passes through, there can be different set of rules in West Bengal, in Uttar Pradesh, and as a result what there is a confusion for the operators of these vessels. In order to overcome this confusion, a unified law for the entire country is proposed under this particular bill. The certificate of registration will be granted under the proposed law, and this certification will be fed into a central database, and the central database will have the details of the vessel, vessel registration, the number of crew on this particular vessel will all be present under this central database. So primarily the intention of this particular legislation is to ensure that there is ease of doing business, regulate the terms and conditions, ensure that the environmental impact is comparatively less, pollution is controlled, facilitate economical safety, regulation, security and registration of inland vehicles. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. We will have more editorials and columns in the near future. Once we have the clear-cut details, we will take this article once again. As of now, this is all we have to understand. Now let's look into the next article. This article says, soon drones might ferry vaccines, government to frame norms for drones to carry vaccines. The Indian Council of Medical Research happens to be one of the premier institute which is at the forefront of fighting the menace of coronavirus. Now this particular institute has invited drone operators work on a field trial so that they can help in moving the vaccines from one place to another. So what is this article speaking about? The article currently goes on to say that as of now there is difficulty in making sure that the vaccines are reaching the remote corners of the country. So the drone operators will be employed, experiments will be conducted, errors will be rectified, and on this particular parameter the government will issue guidelines so that the drone operators can deliver a delivery model so that these drones would be able to deliver vaccines from one place to another using the beyond visual line of sight drones. As of now, number of experiments will be conducted. These experiments will give us number of errors. These errors will be rectified, and ultimately guidelines will be issued by the government of India so that vaccine delivery can happen on the drones. So trials will be conducted, different entity will submit different types of proofs and so on and so forth, and ultimately these draft guidelines will come into picture when the government decides in the month of October. So kindly remember, as of now it will be experimentation. These experimentation will give some errors. These errors will be rectified. The government will come up with the guidelines. These guidelines will be used for the delivery of crucial supplies to India's remote corners, and this will also go a long way in testing the technology solution to tide over the future crisis, says this article. As of now, you only have to understand that ICMR has invited drone operators to conduct this particular experiment, but once the experiment is conducted, guidelines will be released. Then we will take this article in an elaborate way. Now let's look into the next article. This article says record FDI inflows, yes. Cause for celebration, no. The article here is speaking about foreign direct investments. It is also speaking about foreign portfolio investments as well. When we speak about the FDIs or the foreign direct investment, the article goes on to say yes, it is good. Why? Because over a considerable period of 1 year, what we have seen is increasing cases of funding to India, and this is comparatively great in comparison to other developing countries. And at the same time, as much as investments inflow that we have had, there have also been issues where FDI has been pulled out as well. There has been repatriation as well. There has been disinvestment as well, which means as much as we have FDI coming into India, where there is inflows into India, there have been considerable outflows. So we need not have to celebrate, says the author. Added to this, we have also had increasing amount of FPIs to India, but this is not something which we have to enjoy. Why? Because FPIs or the institutional investors, what we have, basically put in the money when it comes to the stock market. This can be pulled anytime as well. So what is happening? There can be a lot of volatility when it comes to the stock market. Ideally, foreign direct investments, which is about the long-term investment, is good for the country, but because of the considerable outflow, it is not that exciting. And at the same time, when it comes to investing in the stocks, this is in volatile nature and it may not have anything considerable for the Indian economy, says the author in this particular article. What is it? What are the various discussion points of this particular article? Will be discussed in detail in our economy this week lecture. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article in brief. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. The right to be forgotten must be balanced with the right of the public to access codes of record. Discuss. Soaring AC demand will accelerate global warming unless we begin making major changes. Suggest reliable solutions to mitigate the impact. So please write all your answers on the comment section. Peer review. Do give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.